Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of the Splinterlands Town Hall. It is, today is a Wednesday instead of our usual Thursday, August 14th. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully, maybe some people who can't typically join on Thursdays can come on a Wednesday. Um, I don't know if you could tell from my voice, I've come down with a bit of a cold. Um, so I'm still going to try to get through all this. Might make it a little shorter than normal, if at all possible. Um, but in any case, as always, we have a good amount of stuff to talk about. Um, we're going to talk about the new release that is going out tomorrow, which is why we pushed the town hall to today. Um, and then some of the stuff that's going to be coming up in the next few months and things to look forward to and how things are going. So before we get into all that, I'll turn it over to our very own investigator to give us kind of the update on all the good stuff going out.
Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. So we've got the update tomorrow. The big thing that probably everybody already knows about is the cycling of the reward cards. So the Chaos Legion reward cards will no longer be available from the reward shop. Instead, you'll start receiving Rebellion era reward cards, which have, at this point, I think, all been leaked out through different Splinterlands related media content and different streamers. I think someone has put together a list of all of them on Peak D, which has been linked a few times in our Discord. Along with the cycling of the reward cards, we will be introducing the ability to unlock your Chaos Legion era reward cards and make them transferable, usable on land, sellable, with an initial cost of 10x the current collection power value, which will increase over time until I believe it's 6 months to a year later, they'll become permanently soulbound. I don't have the
6 months.
frame in front of me. 6 months, yeah. Along with this, we are making some adjustments to the reward shop. There is going to be a slight increase in the base costs of chests. To go along with that, we are also going to be modifying the glint amount that goes out for pretty much the lower half of the leagues. We'll be getting a boost, fairly significant boost at lower end for bronze and silver. So the idea is that you should need to win somewhere between 3 to 5 matches to get an appropriate chest for your ranking. And hopefully that will make it a better experience for lower level players. Along with that, we will be loading in the next conflict, the 8th conflict card, which I think Nate is going to share a little bit later when we get to him. The other big item for tomorrow is the first half of implementing the voucher rework proposal. So we're going to be combining vouchers into a single in-game token voucher. We're going to be getting rid of the voucher -G and just making vouchers in-game. So they will no longer be transferable out to the SPS chain. They will also no longer be transferable out to Hive Engine, which was part of the proposal. The rewards for the SPS voucher pool on Hive Engine will be ending, so you may want to withdraw your liquidity and do something else with it. And due to how the nature of node license sales work, because the vouchers for those were coded to use the SPS chain side vouchers, there will no longer be any voucher discounts for purchasing node licenses from the shop. Not that we've seen a lot of traffic on that recently, but those are all the voucher changes that are slated to go out tomorrow. At the September 3rd update, we plan to do basically everything else that's on the proposal, which is adding an in-game liquidity pool for vouchers to DEC, removing all of the voucher discounts that are currently in place where you can get reduced prices using vouchers, and instead it will be adding a card that will be purchasable only with vouchers and a new voucher shop. The only thing that we will be leaving in place is conflict chances, because those were only ever paid in vouchers, and there's only going to be, I think, 2 conflicts left at that point. So if you want to get your gold foil chances increased, you will still need vouchers for that. But for packs and energy and wild passes, those will no longer have a voucher option. For packs, we will be reducing the price from 5,000 DEC to 4,000 DEC, since the voucher discount will no longer be available. So we're going to take those off of the cost. So I believe those are the high points of the voucher proposal. For some other notes for tomorrow's update, we are going to fix an issue with delegated and rented cards being used on land. Right now, if you do not have enough grain to do the forced harvest when your rental ends, it currently breaks the rental ending, and we have to go manually fix things, which has only happened once so far. But our fix for that is going to be that if you do not have enough grain and your rental expires, your harvest is going to be lost, and the card will go back to the owner. So please ensure that you have sufficient grain at the end of your rentals if you are not harvesting grain with your rented cards in the first place. That whole thing will go away with the next major phase of land, but that is some months out at least. So this is the interim fix for cards getting stuck on plots. Some other notable updates. We will be introducing a new player quest system on the update tomorrow. So if anybody creates a new account, they will see a 3-step quest, which is doing the tutorial, playing a modern battle, and then purchasing the spellbook, which if you complete, then you will be presented with 1,000 glint, I believe was the number we settled on, as a reward for completing this quest, which is a nice little introduction of some back-end changes that we can handle a quest system now. So we may have the ability to expand this in the system to maybe do other quests or achievements in the future. But for now, we're just introducing a single new player kind of walkthrough experience that should hopefully lead any new players through what they need to do. Related to that, the wild format button will be disabled for any accounts that do not have spellbooks. It's a confusing experience to go on there and be told you need to buy something that you can't buy because you haven't bought something else. So we're just going to try to keep new players on the modern screen. There have been a number of fixes that are going out tomorrow. There was an issue with when changing the summoner during team creation, the mana filter will now automatically reset to make it a little bit easier. back before we did tech modernization, there were separate filter controls between summoners and units. So this will make it a little closer to that, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more convenient. We fixed some issues with the battle results showing up early with streamer mode enabled, and made some general improvements to the handling for outstanding matches. It will no longer forcibly redirect you back to the match. Instead, you will now get a fairly persistent notification pop up that you have an outstanding match, and you can click a button to go back to your team creation or tactics, depending on where you were. So if you need to hop out of the match and go rent a card real quick or something, it won't be forcing you back into the match, or you won't be unable to get back to the match, which also came up as a problem occasionally. Some smaller changes. We are expanding the tournament results to display up to 1,000 places instead of the current 100, since some of the larger tournaments had like 300 people enter and you couldn't see where you placed. The level filter will now sync up to the card display for looking at cards on the for sale and for rent tabs. So if you're filtering to only see a specific level of card, it will just show that as the card display. We fixed an issue where free-to-play accounts couldn't be challenged or issue challenges, which apparently has been an ongoing issue since the tech modernization of the battle history. We added a notice to tournaments where there are custom prizing that the tournament organizer is responsible for prize distribution. So there can be some delays, and it's not an automated process handled by us. And as a final note, we are adding a Rift Watchers card template. So if you want to list a full set of Rift Watcher cards for rent, you can do so through the rental system. These will not be presented to new users. They're only going to be available if you explicitly go to the card sets and look for sets for rent. But since Rift Watchers is fully released, we figured we would just add a simple template for that in case anyone wanted to list a full set. And those are the main updates for tomorrow. Currently on deck for the 3rd, which is going to be the following update after this one. As I said already, the second half of the voucher rework with the shop and all the other changes on the proposal. We are hoping that the guild conversion to the new client will go out on that date. It's been in testing. We want to do a little more before we release it. And with the little over 2 weeks between updates, we feel that should be sufficient time to get that out. We should also be doing the first promotional card sale for the past DAO proposal of 5 promotional card sales that the DAO will get the funding from. So we are working hard to get everything ready for that next update. And I believe those are the major things to touch on. Matt will probably talk a little bit more about some of the upcoming sales and things on that front. And any questions from you guys or anything you want me to touch on?
No, I think that was a pretty thorough overview. Yeah, like you said, I'll talk some more about some of those things, and then, as usual, we'll take questions at the end from the community. I also want to say I apologize. I had not gotten to the town hall questions in a while and just went through as many of them as I could this morning before this town hall. But in the future, I'm going to make sure to set reminders and that I get to them at least once a week, if not more often. So please, if you don't get your questions in during the live town hall, please feel free to post them in the town hall chat, and we'll try to get them answered as quickly as possible. With that said, turn it over to, I'm going to point the other way here, the great Nate, to see what we have going on in the creative team.
Yeah, I'm basically just gonna compliment and support a lot of what Harry said, except just with some visuals. Well, I guess there's a couple other things that we'll show and talk about, but before that, I'm going as always. Harry goes over a lot of stuff. I did notice that someone asked about seeing what the quests look like, and Lilyfire was kind enough to show some of the screenshot stuff there. Um, Here is let me see. We are working at trying to kind of like polish up the lobby whenever we have the chance. And this gave us another opportunity to do so. So here's maybe more of a full screen view. And you'll notice that in addition to the quest at the top, that we are trying to work on other things. So when the new player shows up, we want to very clearly prompt them to go take a look at the Academy panel. Heck, even OG users may not be as comfortable or familiar with clicking on that little icon because it is in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively new feature that is popping up across our website is those Academy panel icons. So clicking on that tome, that Academy book up in the corner, and being able to get access to the information that is applicable specifically to the screen you're looking at right then and there. That is, I think, is going to do wonders for the overall user experience, whether you're new or old. And we want to make sure that they're aware of that right from the get go. So point them to that, um, show the quests. And I think someone in the chat asked about hey, is this like the focus system? Like, what is this? No, it's not the focus system. Um, I think Matt put in the town hall questions that he mentioned just earlier. He pointed out that hey, when we get the time and the bandwidth to really give it the focus it deserves, then we're hoping to go ahead and revamp that system and reintroduce it. And what this is not that. This is essentially, and Matt's brought this up before in previous town halls, where we're seeing like X number of signups every single day, but these folks don't seem to be doing anything. They're not battling. They're not buying a spell book. They're just kind of like showing up, making an account, and then what the heck happened? And so this is like we're hemorrhaging signups, and we're like, okay, let's stop the bleeding. Let's try to acquisition, retention. What can we do that's a low hanging fruit, that's quick and easy, and won't take up a huge amount of the team's time? Because in parallel with everything else we're doing, we are still working on a more long-term solution for onboarding, which is actually looking pretty cool and coming along nicely. But in the short term, what do we do about these signups? And this was the answer. Is let's part of the answer, anyways. So 1, 2, 3, step 1, 2, 3 for a brand new player. Go ahead and tutorial, play a match, buy a spell book. Very easy funnel. Once they achieve that funnel, there were a couple other pain points, or if not pain points, then areas where we thought we could improve, and we'll be improving those as well, whether it's from the registration page itself or for better explanation when you buy a spell book as to what that means. We're looking into little tweaks we can make to make the new player experience now, not later, but now, better. And then just review the analytics of it all, review the data, see what's working and what's not, and then adjusting as necessary. So that's that. And then one other thing you might have noticed, which is not, I don't believe this is going live yet, although I've seen our Mancio, our dev, working on it. So but the primary nav, we are trying to polish that up for scalability reasons and also for aesthetics. So whether it goes live sooner or later, that is something. If you guys notice, it is something we're working on, so that you don't have a busy, because we keep making the primary nav bigger and bigger every time. Hey, let's add conflicts. Okay, add an icon. Let's add this. Let's add an icon. We're gonna run out of space, particularly if we want new game modes and we want the ecosystem to grow. We need a primary navigation bar that can grow with our community and our team's ambitions. Um, and there's a lot of cool little secret stuff baked into that. Something we talked about internally as a team is just the balances. Even the balances they might grow to astronomical levels if you're a whale, and so we might reduce. We might say 1.3 M for a million, or K for 1,000, or we're kind of fiddling with how that works and how many decimal points over, and how can we meet the needs of both minnows and whales alike. And so we're kind of like looking at that stuff too from a UI perspective. So yeah, there's that. That's enough of that. Something that I'm equally excited tomorrow. Well, not maybe not equally. I'm pretty darn excited about the reward cards tomorrow. And we'll touch on that. But the fact that you can unbind the existing Chaos Legion reward cards, I think I showed this last town hall, and it's gone through little tweaks. And I don't even know if this is the final version that's going to end up. Harry can look at it and tell me if anything's changed. But essentially, at least gives people an idea. Um, Tomorrow, if you want to unbind anything, go to your card details screen. So go to your collection, click on the card, and there's a new little icon there. It's kind of like a chain breaking. You're going to click on that, and that's going to send you to this screen to go ahead and review the cost and confirming that you want to go ahead and unbind X number of this card that you have. I know that, if I'm not going to unbind myself, I'm going to be scouring the market to try to fill up the holes that I got to fill in my collection to kind of max out certain cards. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what the market looks like tomorrow for these. It should be quite interesting. Um, Regardless of where you fall on the fence, whether you think, it's too expensive or it's not expensive enough or whatever, it should be. It's an interesting moment in Splinterlands history um, to see how this plays out, and I'm excited to figure out what I'm going to do with my extras and how to fill the holes in my collection. So you guys probably are too. So keep that in mind. One other thing on the UX UI front. Harry, when I don't know whether this is going into effect now or later, whether you already mentioned it. Did you already mention, Harry? Are we adding these dual element and dual attack filters? Um, are they already in the game? Are they about to go hit the game, or it's still in triage in the backlog? I don't remember.
So, yeah, I just came back. I heard my name.
Okay. I was asking if we're at the dual element and dual attack filters. Are we doing
No,
that?
we have not received those from the creative department yet that I know of. They may
Okay.
be done, but I don't think they're on a ticket yet.
All right. So that is, if it's not done or it's not coming out tomorrow, then it will soon. I believe this was Call Me Tim's idea while we were looking at a bunch of new cards and you wanted to add more dual element and dual attack. Then I think it's also something that might have been requested from the community as well. So we are working on that. We're all looking at little improvements like that, and hopefully that's coming around the bend. Now the other big thing. What else can we talk? Oh, the reward cards. So I thought, almost, Harry, you're right. You mentioned earlier, well, all the reward cards are unleashed. Almost, almost. Like we have so many ambassadors that submitted their interest in taking part in sharing the great news about the new reward cards and stuff, and I'm just floored. So if you guys are, if one of you out there listening is an ambassador, and you went ahead and applied and you submitted your information about your social media channels and your followers and your contact information and all that, and then you went ahead and you went to town and you helped, you got on the soapbox and you helped spread the good word of Splinterlands to the masses. Thank you so much. I mean, as you're all aware, we're looking forward to marketing in the future. We got a Hive proposal. If you haven't looked at it, go check it out. Vote for it. We're trying to figure out, like, hey, when the time comes, a new player experience later this year is like where it should be, and we're ready to go to marketing. Then we're really excited about the prospects of doing so. But in the meantime, in the interim, um, wow. I mean, you guys are nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you guys are the marketing for Splinterlands, and you guys have just blown us away with the content, whether it's video streaming or whether it's creative ways in which you've, revealed your cards. Maybe showed the artwork first, showed one stat, had contests, trying to guess which ability it has, all that stuff. I've been looking at X and YouTube and all the rest, and I'm just like, I'm just tickled by it all. I'm just delighted by the fact that you guys are just so good at what you do. So thank you so much. And and it's very entertaining to see, and it's very cool to see. I get FOMO myself. I've seen the cards. I played with them on test server. I know what they are. I helped do the artwork, and yet somehow you guys get me more excited. You get the guy who's in charge of creative is getting FOMO from your content. So you're doing a good job when that's happening. So I'm pretty excited about that. Almost every single reward card has been revealed via ambassadors and not the company. I think Call Me Tim shared one or two in Tavern Discord chat. Um, Other than that, all of them have been ambassadors. There's only a very tiny handful left that have been shared. So I took one for the town hall today. Um, I gave one to our narrative designer Joey, who said, I'll share that one. So check out his account on social media on X if you want to see that one if he hasn't shared it already. And then whatever, there was like a few left, I gave to Call Me Tim and said, hey, whatever you want to do, man. And so maybe he'll share it later on today, or maybe he won't. But that's it. And then you guys have seen them all. So here is the artwork for one of the ones that are remaining. This guy is known as the Great Alpine Skink. The Skink. He's kind of like a Jurassic Park looking dude. And the reason I thought this one would be a cool one to share, it's only a common. It's just a common card. But for being a common card, I think this guy's pretty freaking sweet. Let's see. He has he's a little chunky on the mana cost, eight mana, but 4 attack. Well, that's a pretty hefty attack. 5 speed. Okay, well, this thing's quick. It has very thick hide, extra thick hide because it has 3 armor and 9 freaking health. So I mean, it could take a little bit. And as you can see, you start looking at the abilities, and you're like, okay, he could take a hit, but holy crap, he could dodge magic attacks, and with his speed, buff him up a little bit, and it's like either he's dodging or he's taking the hit and he's just shaking it off. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. And then I guess he must have some sort of maybe saliva, or he bites into you or something, but he stuns you. So it's like if either he makes it so you can attack, or if you do attack, you're frustrated because he's mitigating the damage, or he's dodging the blows. So I don't know. That's a pretty freaking sick common card, if you ask me. So I don't know. I figured I'd share that. The other big thing that's around the corner is we are right after, I think, right after this town hall, or maybe tomorrow morning, one of the two. Asaria is going to post to Hive the information for the next conflict, which we are naming Fairies and Fire Bombs. So Joey, our narrative designer, comes up with some cool, fun conflict names. So Fairies and Fire Bombs. I won't go over the whole story. You could read the blog post, but essentially there's some of the artwork. You see the mage wagons making their way to Mount Redworm, where, if you remember, I think it was the very first conflict was Rage, and they actually came from Mount Redworm to go. You're disrupting supplies, and those red dragons were protecting the Chaos Legion supplies, and it was your job as a rebel to go in and help them with that. So not with protecting the supplies, but attacking the supply lines with the rebels. So now it's come full circle. We're nearing the end of the whole all the conflicts. There's only like 2 left. And now we're going back to deal with Rage and say, okay, buddy, we got words with you. So that's where it's going to take place. Let's see what we got here. And finally, the artwork. I think it was AJ is the guy who got the design rights for that one. And we have Elias Max Pruitt is kind of like a tinker who creates cool stuff for the rebellion. I really like his backstory, but I won't get too into it. I'll just be here for the eye candy. But read the blog post. It's going to be pretty cool. It goes over his backstory. It goes over his part in the rebellion, and for those of you who want to see the stats, I'm sure you guys just want to see the stats. Here are the stats as they were on test server like yesterday. So I don't think they're going to change, but you never know. Matt always says, make sure you disclaim, always subject to change. So there you go. Always, as you've seen with what's the cat, the recent cat, we ended up changing the stats and abilities for tofu. So here we go. Here is the next airdrop character that you're going to be have an opportunity to grab. Um, that's a very interesting. It's obviously, as you can see, dual element. It's going to be life water. Um, it's going to give two very important buffs to your, particular if it's a melee team. So if you got those sneakers and opportunists and the tank, they're all going to benefit from the extra melee and the extra armor. And then you got to choose: do I want to repair the armor, or do I want to make the armor an actual weapon to use against the enemy? Um, so armored striker repair. That's a tough one. Are you going to use mana off with that guy? What are you gonna do? So there's a lot of different meta strategies that are going to be introduced with the card. I'm pretty excited to start using that guy, and I'm sure you are too. Um, I think that's enough Nate time. I think that's a good place to stop. Big finale. So I'll pass the baton back to you, Matt.
I appreciate it, Nate, especially because my voice is a little hoarse today. But yeah, thank you. I mean, all the cards, I mean, are looking really cool. Both like from the stat perspective and how they actually look. So real kudos to Call Me Tim and the card design team, and then the creative team for the stories and the art and everything. So yeah, I mean, you guys kind of between the both of you covered most everything of the major topics. So I will go into more detail on some of those, give my opinions. But first, I guess I wanted to kind of take more of an overview of things. So it's been almost a year since I stepped into the CEO role at Splinterlands. At the time, we had come off, over a year of kind of pushing a lot of things out to the community, a lot of pre-sales, a lot of new stuff that was, difficult for us to deliver on, to say the least. And part of, my plan and my goal was to pull back considerably. And sort of give the community and the ecosystem time, give us time to deliver hopefully some of the things that were outstanding as much as we could, and give the ecosystem kind of time to take a breath, and our players to take a breath without just like pushing a bunch of new stuff. So Rebellion launched, I think it was November, the pre-sale of last year. um, so it's been almost a year. It's been 10 months. And in that time, we really haven't put out much of anything. I mean, it's funny because people still say we are nickel and diming and doing like, doing all this stuff. But there was one promo card sale. We did the halving promotion back in April for the Bitcoin halving. But other than that, we really haven't put out much in the way of new content for people to purchase in the game in almost a year now. And I think it's time. I mean, we're at a point where that needs to change. So we are going to start putting out new content, and this isn't going to be pre-sales of completely new things that will be difficult to deliver or years in the future. There was the proposal for 5 promo card sales. There's going to be a bunch of promo cards coming out. There's obviously the new reward card set tomorrow. Um, and we're going to talk about where our plans to do a Rebellion mini set. I know in the past I said maybe we were going to forego that, but I think it's important that we put more content out for our players to purchase if they want. And the key thing to note with all of this is that nearly everything all the DEC is going to either be burned or go to the DAO, for the most part, from all this. So basically, all this new content that we're putting out is putting value into the ecosystem, whereas in the past we took value out to our company, and unfortunately, it wasn't always spent in the best ways. Going forward, I want to make sure we put out a lot of stuff to the community. There's a lot of stuff for people, existing and new players, to spend DEC on. And I want to make sure all that value goes into the ecosystem and into the assets. So that's a lot that we're going to be looking at coming over the next 4 to 6 months. And my hope is that's going to really kickstart things. So for a while, the DEC price has been low. That's also been reflected in the SPS price. That makes sense because there's not a lot of new and exciting stuff for people to burn DEC for. Um, that's going to all change very soon. And I hope that again kickstarts things going into what I expect is going to be a real good year in the overall cryptocurrency Web3 space. So it's just kind of all part of the plan of like sort of like winding up the spring. I don't know if you wind up a spring, compressing the spring like over this past year. We purposely like haven't been putting out a lot of the stuff. So hopefully there's a lot of like pent up demand. And it was also at a time when things were really slow in the general markets and sentiment. And we want to let that spring go now as we go into the end of the year, and we want to ramp up marketing, do more things like Nate's done with the ambassador program, really like get our community involved in pushing this message out and having lots of cool new exciting stuff available for players. And I'd like it to be a situation. I've talked about this before, but I want to reiterate it because I think it's important. In the past, I think one of the key things to Splinterland's success was, the card sets would always sell out. Some of them took a while, but they would sell out. And then afterwards, then they were very small. Not a lot of them were sold. So like afterwards, as the game grew and more players came in, there was like more people competing for these relatively small collections of cards from alpha, beta, untamed, etc. And so people kept thinking like, oh man, I wish I had bought more when they were on sale for their original pricing. And that was good. It made people think when the next card set or the next thing comes out, they want to buy more because they won't want to kick themselves again for not having bought enough in the past. Obviously, that all kind of went out the window with Chaos Legion, and I want to get back to that. So I think with Rebellion, there's still under 1 million Rebellion packs that have been sold, or bonus packs, or that exist in the ecosystem right now. I know there's a few months left before that's done, but it's a real small set. I think it's on par with it's still less or close to Untamed in size. And so my hope is that, going forward, it'll be another situation where players were like, there was too much Chaos Legion, we kind of got burned with that, so we're not going to buy a lot of Rebellion. And then my hope is that players eventually are like kicking themselves and saying, oh man, we should have bought more. And I want to get back into that mindset where people are constantly feeling like, oh, they should have bought more of the stuff. And that's kind of the whole idea behind this plan of like selling less stuff versus more stuff, having smaller print runs and all these things. So look forward to a bunch of new stuff over the rest of this year, with smaller print runs, and the hope that it'll get back into a situation going forward where there's less of these things in circulation than the community wants. Um, so that's kind of the overall thinking of our game plan here. Is we took sort of a year off. We kind of delivered on some of the things that we had outstanding. Not everything. We still have work to do. And then now we're going to start putting out a lot of new, hopefully exciting content that's available right away, not pre-sales for future things. Going into what I hope is a really good increasing market sentiment, and then while also trying to push marketing and promotion all at the same time. We'll see how that goes. So more specifically, um, as everybody knows, we have the new Rebellion reward card Soulbound set release tomorrow, which is also the end of the season. This is an awesome set of cards. I mean, you guys have been seeing them thanks to our ambassadors. They have a whole bunch of exciting new abilities. They have a new type of ability called a debilitation, which is something I've been throwing around and other people have been throwing around for probably years at this point. I mean, all the other trading card games typically have these like negative abilities, cards that are overpowered, but they have some drawback. And that's something we've hesitated from doing in the past, but now we're going forward and we're doing it. I really think that's going to be one of those things that shakes up the game. It makes it really more interesting, makes it, card selection a lot more interesting, and whether you decide to go with the drawback for the extra stat boost or not, and see it. So I'm excited to see how that works out. And that's going to lead, I don't think we'll get it exactly right the first time. We might have some crazy overpowered cards. They might be a little underpowered. But then, like I said, we have a bunch of promo cards coming out. We're looking at doing a new mini set before the end of the year. And I think that's the general way we've gone about with adjusting rather than changing the card stats. We introduce new cards with new mechanics that kind of counter some of the other cards. So I think that the new reward card set is going to introduce these new things in a relatively small way, and then we're going to see a lot of that ramp up with the new cards. A lot of focus on combos and decision making and things like that, which I'm excited for. So um, the the new cards, the pricing in Glint is going to be increasing for the draws and the chests. So you will need more Glint to get the new cards than you have for the previous cards. The increase in batch size pricing is going to stay the same. So after you buy the first batch of cards in a season, it'll go up by 1.5x like it was in the past. So that's not changing. But we are going to increase the price in Glint for the new reward cards. There's a couple reasons for that. One, since the initial Glint shop was introduced, there's been a bunch of other things introduced to the game that have increased the amount of Glint that players earned. So the original numbers we came up with were based on lower Glint earnings than we have now. So it makes sense to increase them for that reason. And in the future, we're also planning on adding some new things that will allow people to increase their Glint earnings. So we want to kind of get ahead of that and make sure that these cards, which are looking pretty awesome, you need to actually put in the work and earn Glint, and that players other than maybe Vugtis will not be able to kind of complete the whole set in a real quick time frame. Um, so yeah, it'll take some time, and you'll need to put in the work to get these new cool cards. But from what I've seen, I expect they will be more than worth it. Um, we also plan to add some increased Glint earnings, especially for lower league players. Right now, the Glint earnings scale with the SPS earnings, and that makes sense that like our top players who have put in the most get like very significantly more SPS than lower level players. But for Glint, that's more focused around the typical like I don't want to say web 2, but the typical like free to play game model where like people come in and they should be able to earn a relatively decent amount of rewards that keep them playing, keep them motivated, even at low levels. And the Glint system was built with that in mind. That's why all this stuff is soul bound that you can get with Glint, so that we're able to award it more liberally, like traditional games do, to kind of keep people motivated. Which we're not able to do as easily with SPS or other like tradable rewards. So we're just going to basically bump up the Glint that lower level players earn to make sure that if they play, like they don't have to play like win 20 battles before they can get one thing in the Glint shop. They'll be able to do like 3 or 5 battles. And our hope is that it'll really help encourage new players and won't make any big effects on the economy, as the actual like total amount of Glint for those players is relatively low. And we've also addressed the issue already of kind of like bot armies being able to farm that. So that's all part of the ongoing process to make the onboarding and new player experience better. Um, and shout out to Investigator and the team, because they were able to throw that in very last minute to get out in this release versus waiting a few weeks. And so we're just really appreciate everything they do. You guys don't know how hard the team works to get all this stuff out and make sure the game doesn't break. Those of you who haven't been around for a number of years might not remember how things used to be, but I just want to reiterate again, like things are 100 times smoother um, now than they were in the past, and that all goes to the great development team that's led by our own investigator. Um, the last thing on that topic is that the old reward card set, the old soulbound reward card set, will be able to be unbound, as Nate and investigator talked about, um, starting at 10x the burn value in DEC. Uh, So I understand that that's controversial in the pricing. I put up the community poll to see what the SPS stakers feel. It seems like at least the majority of the SPS stake would like it to be that amount, but a lot of individual players prefer it be less. I don't always know what the right thing is. I don't know what if this is better or lower would be better or higher would be better. Um, so we are going with this. We're going to see how it goes. I think there's pros and cons. A lot of people have said, doing this is going to burn a lot less DEC. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we did half the burn cost, would it mean more than double the cards would be burned or not? Possibly. But the amount of DEC burned in the short term is not the only factor. One of the things I talked about earlier is wanting to get back to a situation where people feel like they should have bought more cards or put more in after things go out of print. Um, versus having like excess supply in the system that makes things less valuable. So here, if it's the case that this price is too high in the sense that very few people unlock or unbind these cards, well then it means these cards are going to be extremely extremely rare and hard to get, right? You won't be able to mint new ones going forward. So if there's only a very small amount that have been unbound, then any players who don't have them or any new players that come into the game that want them um, will need to pay a lot for these cards. And again, that could be good or bad. Some people say, well, it stinks for new players if there are cards that are really valuable and that they can't get. But that's also a benefit for our existing players. It's a benefit for you guys who will mostly have these cards. And if they're really valuable, you guys who have been around and you've stuck around and you've put in money into this game, you guys will have these things that are very expensive or possibly impossible for newer players to get. And then over time, as things rotate out of modern, the newer players now will become the existing players, and they'll have the ability to get the cards that will be very difficult for newer players to get. So that's part of, in my opinion, the appeal of this game. If you're here, if you stick around, if you put in the time, um, you will get these advantages that newer players won't have until they put in the time also. And hopefully it'll get to a situation where people are like, oh man, I wish I had unbound way more of my cards in that first month because now they're selling for way more or whatever it is. Um, and that's good because the next time around when this new set of rebellion reward cards is done and can be unbound, hopefully people will burn a ton of DEC unbinding them so they don't, they're not kicking themselves again. There was also a proposal that passed recently about allowing this new set of cards to be unbound right away, which I should mention. And since the community pretty overwhelmingly voted for that, we are planning to do it. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but in the not too distant future, we plan to allow the new set of Soulbound reward cards to be unbindable before they're out of print for a higher DEC cost. And we'll announce the details of that as soon as it's ready. So since the community voted for that, we're gonna go ahead and do it. The timing is still TBD. Um, so that's everything I think about tomorrow's release. Feel free to ask questions in the chat later on when we get to that section. If I missed anything, and you guys, Nate and Investy, feel free to jump in if I've missed anything. Um, So other upcoming stuff. We talked about promo card sales. There was the proposal that we put up to do 5 promo card sales. The DAO paid us to do that, so all of the proceeds are going to go to the DAO. Um, the first one is set to launch on September 3rd. We'll be announcing all the details of that soon. These promo cards are going to be good. Like one of the things I talked to Call Me Tim about was like we need some really serious, exciting stuff out here that people are going to want to buy. We want a ton of DEC going to the DAO, getting taken out of circulation. We want people to be all over these promo cards. So they're going to be good. You're going to want these. We're planning to do 2 promo cards per sale, probably a legendary and a rare, like we did for the halving event. Um, the first one we're planning to do pretty much the same as the halving event. Where it's just people have a certain amount of time to buy the cards. There's going to be a leaderboard with some smaller amount of prizing compared to what we've done in the past. But we're not. I don't think we need to incentivize people to buy these as much as we have in the past with leaderboard rewards. These, like I said, are going to be really good cards. We'll see how that goes. We might try for the future sales doing some things a little differently, some different mechanics or whatever. But the first one on the 3rd of September, expect a very similar event to the halving promo we did in April. Um, we talked about the voucher shop, which is coming, also planned for September 3rd, based on the proposal. I think that's going to really help the economy and the ecosystem with reducing the utility of vouchers or concentrating them in this one place and not having them be every single different part of the game. Getting them out of the validators is going to help. Getting them on an internal market rather than on Hive Engine, I think is going to help add liquidity there and have people lock up DEC. And then we're going to start with what the proposal suggests, with one common card. The voucher cost will be TBD, so it'll be a common promo card that will only be available with vouchers. And we do plan to add more things. So the proposal suggests a new card every 3 months. We plan to do that, one of each rarity. We plan to add a bunch of other things as soon as other things are available to add. Those might be skins, cosmetics, might be land related things, whatever. So we do plan to add more things to the voucher shop. But again, it's going to depend on timing and priorities. But at the very least, we are going to do what is outlined in the proposal. Um, I also did want to mention I had an idea for another type of promo card sale that we are planning to do in addition to the five. So there's in addition to the five promo card sales, which will each have two cards, so that's 10 promo cards. We're gonna have one more, an 11th promo card that we're planning to do. This one I took inspiration from the Nouns DAO. I don't know if any of you guys know the Nouns project on Ethereum. It's an NFT project. And what they do is it's like Bored Apes or anything else, except they auction off one NFT every day, and that's how you get a noun NFT. So I thought that was really cool. So we wanted to do a really exclusive special promo card sometime over the next couple months, where we're going to auction one of them off every day for 100 days. So it'll be a max level card. You can only buy the max level card, sort of like Lux Vega. Um, and there'll be one available every day, and it'll be an auction, so everyone bids a certain amount of DEC. Whoever bids the most buys the card for that day. There'll only be 100 of them ever printed in circulation. As I expect, it'll be a really awesome card that people will want. And I think that's a good way to. I think those really like special limited edition high value cards are a cool thing to add to the game. We don't want to have too much of that. We want to keep everything generally as accessible as possible to most people. But it's cool to have a few things here and there that are really special, really rare, and that people can get. And it'll be interesting to see how the auction mechanic does as compared to our typical promo events. So keep an eye out for that coming in the next couple months. And then the other kind of big thing as far as new features and content that we're working on is a skins and cosmetics system. We've been having a bunch of meetings. Nate and the creative team have put together a bunch of things. We've been going back and forth on the design for this. I think we're actually going to call this Glamour as a new concept, which is suggested by Nate and the creative team. And it's something from, this type of genre of RPG and fantasy, like magic, the concept of glamour as opposed to calling them skins. And so rather than just saying, here's a skin for a card, it looks different. We're planning to add a new system of glamour, which so you'll be able to purchase different glamours that apply to different cards. Um, in the glint shop, in the voucher shop for DEC, we could have promo sales for specific glamours, and you'll basically like have a certain number. You'll be able to level up your glamour for a specific card, and the more glamour you have for that card, the cooler it will look, essentially. So, and it'll be more than just a new card, an alternate card art. Some of the cards won't have alternate card art, but you can still get glamour for them, and they can have like cooler looking card frames. They might have neat little visual effects around the cards, some little animations, sort of like with the land plots. When you like open a rare epic or legendary land plot, it has a cool like effect around it. So getting more glamour for your cards will add like cool effects. It might show the name of the type of glamour. Like one example that the creative team supplied is you could have Overlord Mantaroth is a type of glamour that you could get for your Mantaroth card. Again, this is just an example. I don't know that we'll actually have that one specific, but it would say like Overlord Mantaroth on your card, where it says the name. So it's a really cool way to show off. And then we do plan to add actual benefits in the game for the glamour, not just visual benefits. So probably things like increased glint earnings, possibly increased production on land, and other things like that. Those are still TBD. We're still working out the details, so I don't want to go into it much there. But that's something we've been really pushing forward. That the whole concept of the system is relatively simple to implement. It shouldn't be like a huge project. So I'm hoping we can do it within the next few months, and it'll add a really cool new mechanic to the entire game. It'll add new stuff you can spend your glint on, spend your vouchers on, new DEC syncs, new rewards. And in addition to just card glamour, we also want to add other cosmetics, whether it's avatars, battlefield backgrounds, trinkets, all these different things for players to earn, purchase, and like just really show off that you're one of the top players in the game. Um, so that's kind of the other big project, and like future content to look for over the rest of this year. As far as onboarding and our mobile experience, that's kind of in the background, an ongoing project. I think Investigator mentioned that the guilds page is expected to be updated on September 3rd with that update. And then the last piece of the tech modernization project is the battles page, obviously, like where you actually play out the battle. Obviously, that's one of the biggest pieces, but it's kind of crazy that the end is in sight here of like kind of redo basically, I mean, basically rebuilding the entire Splinterlands website. And we did it like as we went, um, versus like doing it separately in the background and changing it all over. As we've been going and releasing new features, the development team has been slowly changing them out in the background and rebuilding everything. So that last battle page is the last one that's underway, as far as I'm aware. And we should see the entire site updated. No more switching back and forth between the old site and the new site. The old site will completely be gone. It hopefully will be completely seamless, and you won't even notice it. And then the whole reason for the tech modernization, other than it's just better to have better tech, it's easier to work with and build on, is also it will be just mobile friendly right out of the box. So it will work on mobile. It'll be responsive. We will need to do a pass and just go and say like, oh, this doesn't look great on mobile. Maybe move things around. But to me, that's a really, really huge, important milestone. It'll really help with our marketing and onboarding process, because a lot of people come in on mobile and we lose them because our site doesn't work great. So that will be a huge help. And on top of that, we've been working on the onboarding experience. Nate showed, or Lilyfire and Nate showed the new kind of like little quest thing, and how we're gonna start guiding new players through what to do when they come in. That was just the first quick and easy thing. It was like, what can we do? What can we get out here so they don't just get dropped into this lobby page and have no idea what's going on? And then we're gonna build on that. We're simplifying and fixing the current tutorial and just the whole registration experience. So this is all leading up to hopefully being able, when we do marketing and promotion and we get new people in here, having them have a good experience that makes sense, and becoming our next group of active players and whales and participants in this ecosystem. I do want to talk about land a little. um, you know Two things that are kind of slowing down land. One is that land it's a big, complicated project, uh, and Cryptomancer is new to it. So he's spending a lot of time getting familiar with it, learning how to do things, how to update things. That's still taking a little while. Once he gets kind of familiar with everything, hopefully that will go a lot faster. Another thing is Cryptomancer has unfortunately been away for a large portion of the summer. Um, he does a lot of traveling and stuff. Some people might forget that we do have lives outside of Splinterlands, although it may not seem like it. Um, but my expectation is that starting in September, when he's back kind of full time in action and has wrapped his head around the very big, complicated land system, that we're going to see a lot more progress on that. And for those of you who maybe hadn't heard in the past, what we're planning to do for land, as the next kind of step, is to add in the other natural resources, in addition to just grain. So that's stone, ore, and wood, um, and have those be required to mine SPS or to produce research. And then we would like to add additional utility for research, so the ability to like point your researchers toward a specific task or progress that can unlock other things in the game. So in the future, we might have promo cards for sale, but in order to have the option to purchase the promo cards, you need to research it first on land, or potentially like buy a blueprint from someone who has researched it on land. So the combination of adding more resources, plus giving more, or giving some value and utility to research, right away, will hopefully create a lot more liquidity and trading in the land markets. People will not be able to produce all the grain that they need. They'll be producing, they'll need a bunch of different resources, and they'll need to trade what they're producing for the other resources. So if a lot more volume happens on the internal markets, um, the liquidity provider rewards will increase, and hopefully it'll encourage people to lock up more DEC for liquidity. So, just rehashing that for anyone who hasn't heard, that's what we're doing. I'm bummed it's been taking so long, but again, my hope is that Cryptomancer will really be able to get into it more starting, within a month or so, and we'll see a lot more progress towards the end of the year. Um, so I think those are the main topics I wanted to talk about. Just to recap, um, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming, a lot of new exciting content uh, toward the end of the year. We've purposely took a step back and didn't put out stuff for a while. Hopefully that kind of coiled the spring a little bit, and we're going to start releasing all this stuff into what I hope is the next bull market for cryptocurrencies. And we're going to see what happens. So I personally have been buying DEC slowly as I feel the price has been low, because I am going to get all these things. I'm going to buy all of the promo cards to max level. I am going to be unbinding a bunch of my soulbound cards. I am going to be buying the new mini set. Um, and why wouldn't I get a discount on doing that? We'll see. So that's just how I see it. What I'm doing. I don't know how it's going to work out. But that's what we as a company, that's how we're positioning ourselves and positioning the ecosystem going forward over the next 6 months or so. So as always, really appreciate everyone who's here, who's stuck around, who gives constructive and helpful feedback, and I hope to see more of that. We are going to. I'll let Ron or Azaria post the message to open up the questions from the community. And while they're doing that, I want to remind everybody that if you don't get your question in now, or if you're listening to this in the replay later, feel free to post your questions at any time in the town hall channel in Discord, and I will do a much better job than I did over the past month of responding to those every week or so. And other team members will also check in there and respond to ones that they can handle. And as usual, Ron, feel free to jump in and let me know if we have any questions coming from Twitch or YouTube, and I'll get to those. I'll jump back and forth between those. All right, let me pull up the questions here. Excuse me. All right, first question is from Off Grid Living. What are the increased prices of reward chests, and will the batch sizes be changed? So there's going the batch sizes are not planned to be changed, so no to that one. Off the top of my head, I think the card draws are going to increase by somewhere around.
I can grab the numbers
Yeah, if you have
if
the
you
numbers,
want, so you don't have to read them off.
I think something around a 1/3 increase or so, off the top of my head, is what I remember. Um, Maybe 50% for those. Yeah, maybe the chests are about a 33% increase. I think uh the draws might be a little higher increase. But Harry, if you grab them and you want to put them in chat, feel free to do that. And again, a reminder: the reason for increasing the prices is for two reasons. One, we've added a lot of things that increase players' glint earnings since the glint shop went live. So people are earning more glint than the original pricing was planned for. And then also we plan to add additional things like the skins and cosmetics that I talked about that will allow you to increase your glint earnings as well. So we want to make sure that the things in the glint shop are priced appropriately, and we're also increasing the glint earnings for lower league players to make sure that they will be able to purchase those things at a reasonable rate. Question from Gwil Howe, if I pronounce that right. Many players have spent a lot of money and played for a lot of time during the soulbound cards. We got many of those cards max and several extra copies. However, we're missing a few cards at max level because of the RNG. Why are those players being punished when they should be able to either burn a few of those extras to get the card that exactly want, or maybe be allowed to trade locked cards with other players in order to complete the collection without having to pay 10x. In his example, he's missing 4 Aves Sturgis, which he would gladly burn like 3 other legendaries for each copy, or pay a 1x CP cost to have them moved from alt to main, but there's no way he'll pay 20 DEC KDEC to get it to max. I mean, I don't consider people being punished in a lot of senses. Players say if there's something that they don't like or they prefer to have different, that they're being punished. We never at any point said that you'll be able to do that with those cards, right? So the whole idea of those cards is they're soulbound and you have to earn them in your account. If you have cards that you don't want, or you want other cards, you can burn them, you get glint. It might not be at the rates that you want, and you can go. We added the card draws to make it easier to focus, so you can buy legendary draws. I know it doesn't give you the specific card you want, but it allows you to have a better chance of focusing on certain cards. And then if you're still missing cards, you will have the ability now to go and purchase them on the market from other players. They may cost more than you would like them to cost, but that's generally how we feel is the best way to set up this game and this economy, to encourage people to play and to earn from playing, and to keep the value of those rewards high. So again, I talked about earlier, you might not have exactly all the cards that you want, but you have a large collection of these cards that it's going to be extremely difficult for other players who come in after this to get. So that's the benefit. That's what you've gotten for putting in a lot of money and playing for a long time. You have this collection that you've built up, um, that other players is going to be very hard or very expensive for them to get. So I don't consider that being punished. I consider that you've been significantly rewarded for the time and the money that you've put in. And I think, especially if those cards become very valuable in the future and very hard to get, I think those benefits will be obvious. Right now, like, everyone who plays the game has most of those cards, so it doesn't seem that great. But in the future, when they're out of print, and they're relatively expensive, it might seem like real big benefit and advantage to you, for playing all this time, that you have those.
We do have a
Question.
question from on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. Go ahead. I'm going to take a YouTube question.
All right, they can't hear me too. So from Gathering the Magic, he says, "Will the voucher store have items that will require other tokens than just vouchers, like a combination of vouchers DEC or vouchers SPS? Would help with SPS and DEC burning."
No, the whole point of the voucher store is it's only vouchers, 100% vouchers. But again, like, to start, it's going to be one card. So pretty much everything else in the game is DEC burning. And that's how, and DEC burning is directly tied to SPS burning, because you burn SPS to get DEC. So the vouchers are being moved to this one place. This one shop is going to have voucher only things, but then everything else in the entire game, vouchers are taken out of, and it's pretty much burning DEC. So again, one of the reasons I like this change is it's going to put more focus on spending and burning DEC, which directly translates to spending and burning SPS in the future. Um, all right, question from Mega Marcus. What do you think about set rentals that could not be paid in DEC but in SPS reward share? So, if you mean an SPS reward share, like where someone shares their rewards with you, that's like the scholarship model. Um, so I guess, I mean, that works too. We have that mechanism in the game, at least, to share your SPS rewards. Um, I mean, I know players set that up sort of manually right now. If someone has a scholar, they delegate them cards, which is effectively a set rental, and pay out SPS rewards, for doing that. So I think I don't see why that's not possible. We'll see if it makes sense, though, if people will be interested in doing that. But it's an interesting idea. Question from Marcor: why not create a new pass in both modern and wild? The pass affordable in price and purchase with DEC only. It can advance you from bronze to silver, from silver to gold. This is a good option for those who don't have time to play much or have more than one account. This will push them to move up in league and start playing where they want to be, a more DEC utility to move DEC to peg. Yeah, I'm not sure I really understand. If anyone, like, it sounds like you're saying
Hmm.
not a pass that is required to play a modern, but something that allows you to advance to a different league automatically.
Yeah, I think he's suggesting we sell skip leagues for a fee.
Um, Possibly, but then the whole system is set up where, I mean, I guess if you're not like meant to be, if you don't have the cards or the, the win rate to be in that certain league and you just pay to go into it, you're just going to keep losing and drop back down. Um, so I don't, and if you do have the cards and the ability to get into a certain league, I mean, the whole idea is it shouldn't take you too long to play to get there. So I don't know if you're saying just like, hey, I don't want to spend that time to kind of move up to where I'm supposed to be, so just pay a little bit and get there. Um, Maybe. I mean, I guess I'd be open to the idea of like paying to skip ahead. But again, we have to look at like if you're able to pay to skip ahead to somewhere where you shouldn't be, are you just going to get matched up with like matches you can't win and then just fall back down? And then is it like, are you just going to be pissed off that you paid to go somewhere? I don't know. And I don't know if that like kind of brings it back to the old system where like everyone's just going putting themselves in certain leagues, which might not make sense. So I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I feel like it needs a lot more thought that I don't have the time to put into it right now. But if you kind of want to go through, maybe talk with other community members, and flesh it out a little more, uh, then we can consider it. Question from Led Joel: is it possible to introduce subscription for Battle Pass purchases where the game automatically debits DEC in the beginning of a new season to get the Battle Pass? Um, yeah, I mean, I guess we could put an automatic DEC debit system in. Generally, I know battle passes have been an idea that's been talked about a lot. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a cool like thing, like not required thing, but the ability to purchase a battle pass that gives you additional benefits. It's just like when I look at all the things we need to do and that we want to do, that one to me has never been a high priority. Given our current player base size, and the amount that a battle pass would reasonably cost, I don't think it would actually burn any significant amount of DEC to be worth the effort compared to many of the other things that we can do or that I'd like to do. So that's why like the battle pass is a cool idea. I'd love to see it implemented in the future. Um, but that's why I haven't really focused on it at all yet. Just because like doing the actual math, it was just like a relatively small amount that I didn't think was worth it. Um, then from that same question, from the recent post, I feel the use for vouchers has been redirected. Is the plan to keep it that way or to phase it out? Um, the plan for vouchers is what the community votes for vouchers. So there was a community proposal that was put up that was passed. So we're doing that. Um, I wouldn't mind phasing out vouchers, although I think what is proposed really helps and is fine keeping them and having the voucher shop, but it's really up to the community, the SPS stakeholders to decide that, not up to us. Is it just an idea for an ability worth considering? Destiny Bond, the enemy that deals the kill shot dies along with the monster. Just something I thought would be interesting. Yeah, that sort of sounds like maybe one of the new debilitations because it sounds like a negative. Like, so there's a potentially a creature that's like very, very powerful. But if it deals a killing blow, then it dies itself. Would be a good drawback that would lead to like overpowered stats. So I don't know if Call Me Tim is listening or watches this later. I'd have him take a look at that. He's the one that comes up with the new abilities at this point. Intrepid Server is asking, without being specific, will you talk about the new things coming out this year? Is there anything being prepared in secret? Um, no, we don't have anything being prepared in secret. I generally prefer to talk about all the things and be very transparent with the community and not do secret things, except for like the Secret of Pretoria, and things that are specifically supposed to be secret. So, I announced a couple of new things that everyone probably didn't know about in this town hall, which is that we're planning to do a mini set and this concept of this 100-day card auction. So those are the things that we're planning to do this year, and there's nothing else that we're planning to do in secret. That's a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, like it's going to be a struggle to get all that stuff done, and I've really been pushing the team to figure out how we can do more with less, how we can do more quicker, and the team's been very responsive in figuring out ways to do that. So the last thing I want to do is add even more on top of that. Um, Question from AP Risen: do we get one-click rentals with maxed deck limit for every splinter? Um, I'm not sure. Currently, the one-click rentals that we have are really for new players coming into the game to be able to get a full lower level set of cards from all the elements that they would kind of need to be able to play. The system is kind of generic, where people can list other sets of cards for rent. So you could list a set of max level cards for a specific element for rent. And we're kind of looking to third party sites like Peak Monsters to implement some of the UI for that stuff. But right now, the focus with one click rentals is really just the low level set of cards of all the elements for newer players. Key to the Gate is asking thoughts on ranking system now that we've had the current one for a while. My thoughts are that this is the right way to go. I don't think going back to the old system is the right call. I don't think the old system was better. I still think we have work to do on the current system, and we're going to keep doing that. But I think this is just generally like the thing that works for these type of games is that players, you have the rating system, and players win and lose battles until they get to their appropriate rating, and then they can purchase more cards, get more things, improve their skill at the game to move up. Um, and that is I think the incentives are correct for that. I think we have some specific things that we need to work on. We have liquidity issues from having a relatively small player base that we're trying to address with liquidity bots until ultimately, hopefully, we grow our player base. Um, and we've had a few other issues that we've been working out. But I generally think this system is the right way to go, and we're going to keep going in that direction. Uh, And just so you know, I'm only if you have a question, please put it with question in caps and bold if you can at first, because I just scroll through and I look for that word. So if people have asked questions that aren't prefixed with the word question, I'm not going to see them. Another question from AP Risen: are you considering a soulbound listing for players where the buyer buy the card for the owner with X amount of limit order? Um,
I can probably address this because we talked about it.
sure.
Not currently. It would be a considerable amount of additional work to basically let people avoid the risk of unbinding their cards or and putting them on the market, whether or not they sell. So they're asking if they can just list them as soulbound, and then someone can pay to unsoulbind them for them.
Got it. Got it.
In a time frame where it would be particularly useful for the Chaos Legion era, just because we have so many other things on the near-term project list. It's maybe an idea we could look at in the future, but probably not something that's going to get done within the time frame where it would matter for Chaos Legion reward cards.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing of the idea, which is interesting. Not totally sure we would want to do it either, because the idea of unbinding your cards is you're taking a risk, right? And so this would remove a lot of that risk, and a lot of the like would change it would drastically change the mechanics of that whole system. So we'd have to think about it more to see if it's even something we think is good to do at all. Um, Question from Azurkhan: when do you envision this new promo card idea, one we bid for, will be implemented this year? ASAP. Great idea. Super excited. Yeah, great. I'm glad you like it. I thought it was a really cool idea too, and I told the team as soon as they can possibly do it. um, which I don't know when that will be, but definitely this year. Hopefully within the next couple months, if it's at all possible. I know Harry's probably investigator is probably like, what? Okay, maybe not. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea. I'd like it to be out ASAP. I'd like everything to be out ASAP. So I don't think it's that difficult to implement, and we're going to work on just a very simple system, not some like very advanced crazy auction system here. Just like, how can we get this out? And then if it's successful and people like it, maybe we'll do it somewhat more often every now and then we can enhance it and make it better. But yeah, my hope is that within a few months this will be out. Um,
Yeah,
if
I
not
like to
sooner.
try to slot it in between the promo card sales, or like between an update where we release a promo card. So it's not like here's two new promos at the same release, but we'll see how the timeline and when it's done.
Yeah, I mean, we could possibly even make it be the second promo card sale because the actual details of the promo card sales were very vague in the proposal for this reason. If we had cool new ideas, we want to be able to do them. So it could replace one of the promo card sales or push them back. But yeah, I'm excited about it too. I'd like to do that sooner rather than later. All right, let me see here, and someone let me know if I miss anything. The next one I see is from Key to the Gate. Question: Ghost Card Challenge mode opens up a lot of possibilities. For example, battle passing that, new game modes. For example, duels using ghost cards, dual type of ghost card tournaments and battles for marketing, for new players for promotional purposes. For example, DAO sponsored ghost card tournaments for those who bought that auction card, or possibly training grounds for new players as part of new player experience. Is the company considering these kind of possibilities when it comes to ghost card battle mechanic that we have now? Um, Considering, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's all sorts of ideas. People have talked about it, increasing the customizability of the challenges for a long time, allowing people to choose rule sets and mana costs and all the battle parameters. Um, these are the type of things investigator, like if anyone on the team wants to go put these things in because they think it's cool on the side, I'm not gonna be upset about that for sure. It's not one of our current priorities though. But if we feel like it's something, I mean, it's one of, I think it's cool. I like it. I would like to do it. I know people would like to participate in it. It's really just a matter of figuring out where we can put it in. So those on the team that are listening, Royal Eagle or whoever, you know, we probably already have tasks for these type of things. If not, we can add them. And I'm all for this type of cool stuff, and I know people will like it. I just saw your message, investigator, that Matt's response is the same thing something doing something in secret would say. Yeah, well, now I guess maybe we have to do something secret. So you've added more work for yourself. We'll have to come up with a secret project and say that we're not doing it. Um, maybe there's some things being worked on by you guys that are secret from me. I don't know. Sometimes you guys are like, "Hey, we're releasing this thing." I was like, "I didn't know that that was coming out. Awesome." Nate sort of had made a lot of alternate card art and skins and things like that in secret, that we're now going to use for our new skins and cosmetic system. So yeah, secrets all around. Uh, Question from AP Risen: Can we implement SPS rentals like XBot feature where you lease your SPS and the buyer will just buy it? The rental SPS we have is so slow to fill. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to understand the question here. I'm not familiar with the XBot feature that he's referring to. I don't know if you are investigator.
I think he's talking about basically a the opposite of the in-game rental system, because right now in game you can place a bid asking for someone to fill it, and I think this is someone saying that or basically listing their SPS and then someone coming in and
Oh, got it. So people would be able to like list SPS for rent rather
yeah.
than people put in bids. Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago since we implemented the current system, and it was done that way because I think that was easier and quicker to implement, um, especially with planning for the validators. The whole SPS delegation rental system was a big piece of the validator software that took a lot of time to work on. Is probably still being worked on. Um, so yes, we can. Since my hope is that the validators will be live before the end of this year, um, I think we would at very least wait till that's done, and then see what it would take. Maybe that would make it easier to implement something like this. So it's not something I don't want to implement. It's just like with the work on the validators going along in parallel, we were kind of being careful about how much we did with that. We didn't want to further delay validators. So let's put a pin on that one till validators are out, and then see if there's an easier way to do it. A question from Clayboyne: How is Matt doing? My guess is that's not specifically about me having a cold today, and more generally, um, I feel like I've been pretty open with the community. Like I don't like running a business. I don't like it. It's not fun. I spend most of my time doing things that I don't like doing and I'm not particularly good at doing. I deal with, creating projections, trying to talk to investors, dealing with tax issues and finance issues, accounting things, HR problems. You know, whatever it is, we get like a bunch of mail from every state and country that we have people working in or participating in, and we have to go through it, and like this is like I'm not good at this stuff and I prefer to just be designing game features. So I'm not particularly happy with that, but I know that it needs to happen, and I don't know, I would love to have someone else that's like really good at this and is like an experienced CEO, like that just deals with and enjoys running companies, to be able to come in and replace me. I mean, my hope last year when I took over the position was that it would be temporary. Um, and we would, I would go back to being like chief product officer like I was before. But, so far that just doesn't seem to be in the cards yet. My hope is that going into 2025, things will hopefully really pick up for the business and the ecosystem, and we'll be able to bring in or promote someone internally to handle that. Um, but until that happens, like I feel like I can't step back uh, until things are really on much better footing. So, I'm here and I'm doing this. I mean, some people may not know that I also took, reduced my salary to like the bare minimum that was, I guess allowed for me to be considered a full-time employee and have benefits and all that back in 2022 when we first did layoffs. So, it's also hard. The point of that is it's also hard to find someone to come in and take over the role of leading the company for bare minimum pay, and we can't really afford to pay someone what that job would would pay right now. So I'm not happy about things. I I'm just as frustrated as all of our players about the state of things. And I'm doing the best I can to turn things around, and I'm very open to ideas and suggestions. But with the understanding that like we can't take every idea and suggestion. So it's like typically 100 ideas and suggestions are thrown out, and we may be able to use one of them because of all sorts of different factors. And there are things, just there I'm not able to really just like talk about every single thing that goes on in the business and behind closed doors. I like to be as transparent as I can with everybody. That's also part of what makes this difficult and frustrating for me. um I'd like to just be like, here's everything, you guys are kind of in this with us. um but for a whole lot of reasons, legal and otherwise, there are a lot of things that need to be confidential when you're running a business. Which is also part of the reason why I think DAOs are so awesome, and I really like that we have an SPS DAO, and I like to try to push more towards the DAO and more more away from the company, because I think it's a much better model for this, a much more open and transparent, with you know lots of benefits. So yeah, I mean, as far as how I'm doing everything I can to try to get this into a position where I don't have to be in this position anymore. And we'll see how that goes. But I really appreciate everyone who's offered support, um, and kind and encouraging words, because I really like. I've spent the last year, if not more, waking up every day doing crap that I hate, uh, and dealing with all kinds of negative things coming at me from every direction, just to try to see if I can turn this around for everyone here. So I appreciate the support and kind words, and I guess thank you for asking the question, Clayboyne. Um, Quantum Nachos is asking, would you be interested in having a voucher card auction to allow non-summoner, non-legendary custom voucher cards earned by auctioning them with vouchers or DEC the ability to design the new voucher cards every few months? Yeah, I think I talked about this 100-day card auction thing. So if we're planning on doing that, and if that goes well, I think we might try to use this auction mechanic in other places within the game. So it could be definitely used for voucher cards where you bid vouchers instead of DEC. And I think designing cards has been one of the really cool things that we've done since the beta set with the legendary summoners. So auctioning off the ability to design other cards, I think is really cool too. Um, so yeah, I would like to do some of that stuff, although I'm not going to guarantee it will happen or the timing.
Hey, Matt, I'm going to jump in here for just for a
Yeah.
second. I don't know how much of a voice you have left, but we have one question from YouTube and 5 more questions in Discord. So just keep that in mind and let me know when to call off the questions. But first, we got a
Yeah,
question.
before you go to the YouTube question, I guess you know, we can go off and cut off the questions now. As I mentioned, I'd appreciate ending a little early because I do have a little cold today, and I will do my best to answer questions in town hall chat uh, at least weekly and on a more regular basis. So if you didn't get your question in, put it in there, and go ahead, Ron, for the Twitch or YouTube question.
All right, from Andreas from YouTube says, would it be possible to share your SPS earnings from battles with the DAO to get a glint boost?
That's a cool idea. I mean, or basically just say like, hey, I want to earn less SPS and more glint, and the SPS would just get burned possibly. I think that's cool. I don't necessarily see a reason why not to do that. It might have to be limited because I do want to make sure like you can't just buy glint generally. So you have like the whole idea of glint is like you need to play the game and earn it. And although like whales can come in and spend a lot of money and get max level cards, like there's still certain things that you need to put in the time and effort. I don't want to lose that, but to
Well,
some degree, I think giving up SPS.
just to
Yeah.
clarify, just in case I misread it or something, the earnings from battles, so there would still be SPS that you're only earning directly from playing. That would be turned into
Yeah,
more
right,
glint.
right, exactly. Um, yeah, so I guess I was gonna say like we haven't done stuff like that because I wanted to make it so you can't buy glint, but in this case, it's not really like that. So I think that's actually a cool idea, and if other people think that's a cool idea, let me know or let other team members know. Maybe we'll do a community proposal if Clayboyne's listening for that. I would be open to it. It does, lower the SPS inflation. But thanks for clarifying that, Ron, because I sort of maybe got off on a little side topic. Um, Question from Ivan Recoveries. How do we know the new signups are not some bots creating an account and obviously not buying spell books since bots testing the new features won't work out? Um, Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't know for sure, but we did spend a bunch of time looking into it and, using all the heuristics that we are aware of to detect bots. And as far as we could tell, they all seem like real people. And also, like bots, might sign up and try things, but if they're not doing anything, it doesn't make sense for bots to keep signing up new accounts every day. Um, so like from everything we could look at, from patterns to the email addresses that are used to what they're doing, if they were bots and it was automated, you'd see a lot of patterns and a lot of consistency. Um, we didn't see any of that really. So we don't know 100% for sure. But it seems like they're just legitimately people that have discovered the game and come to the website and then and sign up. And then don't really, some of them go through part of the tutorial, some of them go through the whole tutorial. There's all sorts of different things that happen and they do. Some come through mobile, some come through desktop. Um, Very different, browser settings and all that stuff that we can see. So it just seem like people that come in and either get stuck or have some problem before they even play a battle. And but so as we're introducing these new things, some of them tomorrow, to try to like we're literally trying to address those issues. What are the problems? Does the tutorial break? Is there issues on mobile? Do they get into the lobby screen and don't know what to do? Our hope is that we'll see some better conversion on those, and we'll just keep working on it until we hopefully convert a lot more of those accounts to at least playing battles. Question from Wizza RDK. We're transitioning to a system where the DAO will fund the Splinterlands company. Would it be reasonable to allocate fees from places where DEC is burned, such as market listing fees, by burning half and redirecting the other half to the DAO? I mean, yeah, sure, that's totally possible. And if the community wants to submit a proposal for that, then we would do that. But to be clear, the way the system is set up is that burning DEC does provide value to the DAO. So in my opinion, like DEC wouldn't directly go to the DAO. It's just DEC would all be burned, and that gives value to SPS at the end of the day, which gives value to the DAO. So basically, like the DAO sort of owns these tokens, and if you burn the tokens, that's effectively like giving value to the DAO. So um, to me, whether it's burned or given to the SPS.DAO account, um, at the end of the day, it's still value going to the community and the SPS stakeholders. Another question from Ivan Recoveries. How about promoting ownership by giving extra percent earnings to owned versus rented cards? Yeah, we could do that. I don't know that we necessarily want to. I don't think it's a problem for people to rent cards. I wouldn't be very happy for a lot more people to come in and just rent cards, and if there's a lot of people coming in and renting cards, then the price of rentals will increase, which naturally benefits card owners because it gives more value to their cards. They can rent them out for higher prices. So, I mean, if you're talking about just promoting ownership reducing the value of renting cards, I mean, why not just get rid of rentals in that case, right? And you just have to buy cards in order to play them. Like that's the kind of the extreme, taking that to the extreme. So to me, I don't know that we want to promote ownership by just like taking away value from rentals. I think we just need to get more people in here renting cards, and then show them like, hey, rental prices are going up, hopefully, if more people are renting cards. And if you want to get value from these cards by renting them to other people rather than having to pay to use them every season, you can own the cards yourself. I mean, it's the same thing as like owning a renting versus renting a house or anything else. More upfront costs, definitely, but ideally you benefit over time. And I think we just need more people that want cards, and then to just promote that concept. Like people might not, especially new players coming in, aren't going to understand that. And part of the whole one-click rentals thing is that we want to try to make them understand what's happening here, not just click a button and I spent something and I got cards, but to understand they're renting these from other players who own the cards, not from the company or anything like that. So I think it's a lot of it's like a teaching opportunity more so than like adjusting earnings opportunity. I'm scrolling through the chat. I see some appreciation. Again, I appreciate everyone who's here. I mean, that's the reason why I do this. Like, I don't wake up and be like, "Yay, I get to deal with tax and accounting issues today, or legal issues or whatever." But I do it because of you guys who appreciate it. So if I didn't have a bunch of you here that appreciate that I do it, then I wouldn't do it anymore. Um, Question from Mega Marcus: do you have ideas on how the DAO could earn money to support the game in the future? Um, I mean, really, the DAO is the one selling the assets. So the way this entire ecosystem earns money is selling in-game assets, right? That's our thing. We are a game, and people who play games typically need to buy the in-game content, and that is how the DAO should earn money. And typically, previously, it was the company earning that money. We've switched the model to the DAO earning that money. And if we get to a situation where there's more value being put into the ecosystem than going out of the ecosystem, um, that should manifest itself in the SPS price going up. The whole system is built that the value coming into the ecosystem goes toward the SPS price. What we've been seeing is that much more value is coming out of the ecosystem than going into it. Much more people are trying to sell their assets and leave than are trying to buy assets or come in. We've seen that be reflected in the price. If we can change that, it should be reflected in the price the other way around. That is the goal. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to avoid changing our business model or trying to do something different, because I know this is a business model that works. There's thousands of games out there, traditional games, um, and people put in lots of money into the game, and that money all goes to the company, and that money is more than enough to sustain the company and have massive profits. So if you are able to make a game that people like, people will come in and they will buy the assets and they will put money in, and that money in will be more than the money going out. The difference here than a traditional game is that value goes to the SPS token, which is held by everybody, not just to the company. So what I see as the way I would like to go is to get more players in, get more money coming in than going out, have that be reflected in the SPS token price, and then the DAO can utilize their SPS tokens in order to pay for what they need to pay for. But by basically selling them, like that's what most DAOs do. They have a token, and that token has value. And when the DAO needs funds, they give out that token or they sell that token for the funds they need. And the idea is more value is coming in to buy the token than is going out from the DAO selling the token to pay for what it needs to pay for. And then you have a a growing ecosystem. So that's what I see as the main thing is the DAO. We need to keep selling stuff. So for the next 6 months, all the stuff I just talked about in the town hall, we're going to be selling promo cards. We're going to be selling a new mini set. We're hopefully going to be doing skins and cosmetics and potentially other things beyond that. And so all that stuff is going to be DEC burned or going to the DAO. That's hopefully going to provide value to the SPS token, which will give the DAO more funds available to fund building even more stuff and have a virtuous cycle. The DAO pays to build stuff, more money comes in to get the stuff than was spent. The value of the token goes up, so the DAO can then spend more without spending as many SPS tokens. While that being said, I know our CTO Patrick is PJ on in Discord. Is also trying to set up all sorts of different liquidity pools across different chains, working with Clayboyne and the SPS treasurers to do that, to try to get more like liquidity fees for the DAO. So there are other opportunities for the DAO to earn funds, and Patrick is kind of leading the charge with Clayboyne on that one. But to me, like our main thing is we are a game and we sell game content. Question from Mark Hoare. When will be the best time to start marketing? Do you have any marketing strategy in mind which will work? People use Telegram mini games a lot these days to bring millions of players to their platform. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to start marketing ASAP. There's two things that I'd like to be done. Is one, I want this onboarding stuff and the mobile experience to be further along, because if we get millions of players to the game and it just doesn't work because half of them are on mobile or the onboarding sucks, we're just going to lose them all and we're going to have wasted all the whatever time and money we spent on that. But that's coming along really well, and we're gonna start doing more as soon as possible. The second thing is funding. I mean, unfortunately, the Hive DAO proposal is currently not funded, and that was kind of like the main use of those funds. But we're not really in a position to do a whole lot with marketing yet. And a lot of people are asking me, like, "Hey, Matt, do you want to do this? What do you think, Matt? Can we do this?" I just have absolutely zero experience and zero time to put on marketing. And most everyone else in our organization is kind of swamped and really busy doing the things that they do, and we just don't have a marketing team. So we need to hire someone into this organization. Maybe to start, it's like part time or someone on the cheaper end. But we just need someone who's on top of this, because there's all sorts of great ideas. I mean, just even what Nate did of like getting our ambassadors to you know together to release the cards is fantastic. Um, we need to do more of that. We need to do Telegram things and Twitter things and all this stuff. But that just, it needs someone to be behind it and organize it, and figure out what we're doing, checking if it's working or not, making changes, dealing with the day to day. And there's just no way I can do that or even come up with the ideas of what to do. So it's been a little difficult, but like we need someone to be in charge of that, and that's what we've been starting to look at finding to bring into the organization, and then hopefully let them run with it on top of having a better onboarding experience to convert them to players. So yeah, marketing as soon as possible, and I don't have many strategies in mind because I've never done any marketing before, and don't really have time to think about it. Um, all right, so that's the last question before we close questions for today. Um, I think again, I want to just remind everybody, if you didn't get your questions in or you're watching this later, put your questions in the town hall, and please, you know, remind me if I don't get to questions in a week or so. I will make sure to try to do that. Um, but with that in mind, just want to reiterate kind of the main talking points, which is that we kind of purposely haven't been putting out new content and new things to buy over the past, 10 months or so since Rebellion was released. And now it's time that we're going to start doing that. So look for a lot of really exciting new content, new cards, and other things in the game over the next few months. And if you're interested in participating in that, I'd suggest getting your DEC, because it is currently at a significant discount to where it could potentially be if these new things are popular. And then the hope is that we are going to finish up our onboarding experience. Our mobile experience will be in a better place. We're going to start having someone leading marketing and promotional efforts, and this is hopefully going into what should be a really good time for the cryptocurrency and web space in general, web3 space in general, which is the plan, to have all this stuff kind of come together at once going into the end of this year. I don't know for sure if it will work out. I can't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is the best plan that we have, and the team's working real hard to get a lot of stuff done by that time. Um, so thank you again to everyone who's been here, who supports us, um, and we're looking forward to some really exciting times ahead. Thank you, Investigator and Nate, for joining us today. Thank you for Ron for managing everything, and we will talk to you again in about a month.
Yay.
This is a story.